militarygamers.com was founded in 2007. It exists to bring U.S. military gamers together and to give back to those who were willing to give all. And with me is the founder, Lucas Wilson, to talk about militarygamers.com. Great to have you here today. And I guess just what's your mission with Military Gamers?
Well, thanks, Jane. It's great to be here. I would say our mission really is about building community and, like you said, giving back to those who are willing to give all. Being a veteran myself, serving in the Marine Corps and having, completed combat tours and, seeing all that there is to see, serving in the military. When I came back home, I realized that, there was a need in, this. There was we have the other organizations out there that are doing a great job, right? You have the VFW, you have the American Legion, you have other veterans organizations, traditional organizations, and keep in mind, this is early 2000s, right? But there wasn't really anything online. There wasn't anything out there for a younger generation of veterans to come home to like that. I came home, I joined the VFW at my local hall, went in there, hung out with some of the old timers, and we talked war stories and had a couple beers. And it was a good time. But there was a little bit of a disconnect for me personally. And having always been a gamer, it seemed like a natural transition to develop a space online that was just for military veterans in general.
Yeah. So. No, it makes a lot of sense. So, so let me make sure I understand how it works. So this is a way for military veterans who are also gamers, interested in gamers, to kind of connect, almost like a social network.
Yes, it is. In a way, it was a very early form of a social network. Now, when I developed Military Gamers, MySpace was big, right? Like Facebook.
2007. Yeah.
Facebook hadn't even really taken off yet. I mean, it was there, but it was more for the college-age kids. So yeah, the idea of the social network was still something in development at the time. And that's really how we started. We started with, a basic website with a forum where people could come and register an account, and then they could start communicating and seeing what everybody else was into, and then, hop into some games with people, and it just kind of developed from there.
Mm-hmm. So what all can people do on your site?
Well, so mostly our site is just there for user registration. It's there, so we can vet our members and make sure that, they did serve in the military. Now, we don't, take people's DD-214s or anything like that. In conjunction with TKYOLABS, we're actually working on some technology that will allow veterans to identify themselves similar to like ID Me while also remaining anonymous. But I'm going to keep that, discreet for now, since we haven't announced that tech. But there are we use the honor system really at Military Gamers, and we found that works for us. There have been a number of people that come into the community and they misrepresent themselves, but they usually don't fit in, right? Because they're not really veterans. They haven't served. They haven't seen and done the things that we've done. And the thrill, I guess you'd seek of joining a community like that wears off quickly, and they fade into the woodwork, or they're out of it and they leave quietly. So we use the honor system, and it's worked for us. So you come, you join our website, and then from there you begin. Now these days it's evolved so much over the years, but now it's really about joining our Discord server. Everybody communicates online in gaming is Discord right now. There's some other competitors out there that are worthy mentions, but Discord's what we use. And this has evolved from, different voice communications platforms we've used over the years. We used to host what was called the TeamSpeak server back in the day. And then it, has evolved into using Discord. And now Discord has sort of replaced our everyday use of our website for the time being, because people are typing, people are chatting, people are streaming their games that they're playing to each other while they're playing, and it all kind of happens around our Discord server. Yeah. But there are plans for the website. It will be undergoing a revamp here in the near future, and hopefully we'll be utilizing some of that technology to bring some new things into the field that hasn't been done before.
Discord makes sense. I mean, it's so big in the gaming community that it does. Right. And it's funny you mentioned you can kind of tell if somebody's not legit. I imagine that you would be able to, after a couple of questions, go, okay, I don't think this person really served.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's you know, there are some people, obviously stolen valor is an issue, you know, with any veterans community. But for us, you know, it's really been a non-issue over the years. We've been going for over 15 years now. There really haven't been any major issues with that. It's a genuine community. It's a grassroots effort, you know, to bring veterans together around a pastime that they enjoy, and it works.
Well, and I'm sure there's a, you know, trauma that's been experienced, and there's a way you can share your experiences, maybe make referrals for different mental health services or things like that as well. So that's all part of this also?
Right. Yeah. So, you know, we made the decision early on not to try and handle these issues on our own. We're ill-equipped. We're a gaming community, right? So we leave that to the professionals, you know, the medical and mental health professionals. If somebody's having a crisis, you know, that we identify in the community, you know, we do have steps in place with both the staff and the members to get them the help they need through official channels like the Veterans Crisis Line, which is, you know, obviously the supported line for the VA that they use. So that's, you know, one aspect of it. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we are a sort of organic therapy for these veterans. You know, maybe they don't reach that breaking point because they're hanging out with us, and you know, they're spending their time. They're not out, you know, on the town, you know, away from their families. They're at home, you know, spending time. Maybe they're at their TV or their computer, you know, and they're talking to people who get it. And that in itself is a form of therapy. You know, whether you're sitting in front of a psychiatrist on a couch, or you're sitting on your couch in front of your Xbox or your PlayStation, you're getting a form of therapy through that. It's a form of natural release, you know, catharsis, really, that you know, is something that occurs naturally, and we're proud of that, because we do have several members of the community who have come forward over the years, and they've spoken to us about how military gamers has really saved them. It's impacted their lives in such a way, you know. And excuse me, I get a little choked up when talking about the topic, you know, but yeah, it's, you know, it's really helped people, and we're proud of that.
No, I can see how that would be helpful, that you have somebody to talk to, where maybe if you come back to your family and they haven't been where you've been, and it's just hard. But if somebody's really lived what you've lived, and you can talk about that and have a diversion with the gaming and all that, I mean, I can see how that would prevent more serious problems down the road.
Right, and that's really what we pride ourselves on. You know, I'm a husband and a father. For as long as I've ran military gamers, and I like to think that I've helped other families, you know, in their hour of need, just by building this community. It wasn't even necessarily me sitting there at the time that you know, might have helped somebody, but just the fact that this community exists, and it's a place for veterans to go and be amongst people who really understand where they've been and what they've done, that helps them through their, you know, moments of crisis.
Well,
I know it's certainly helped me.
Yeah. And you started in 2007, which is really, I mean, still kind of early in the internet time. I mean, we think of how far we've come since then. I mean, that was still when we were kind of reading newspapers online. I mean, we still are, but that's about all we were doing. So, I mean, what made you think at that time that the internet was a good platform for something like this?
Well, you know, definitely Web 2.0, you know, as we like to refer to it in the blockchain space these days. You know, it was a time where really anything was still possible. You know, nobody had figured out where the internet was headed. You know, nobody had at that time really even predicted Web 3.0 and blockchain technology being the future of the space. But you know, I saw, like I mentioned earlier, you know, there was an identifiable gap. There was clearly the VFW and American Legion and other organizations like that. They were, I don't like to use the term behind the times. It doesn't do them justice. I would probably say that they were just ill-equipped or not prepared for technology and where it was at the time. And so I just identified a need and built from there. Literally just started out as an idea, playing some games, talking to other veterans. It literally just started with chatting, saying, "Hey, did you serve?" Or I would see somebody with maybe a gamer tag or a user handle that had an MOS in it that I identified from the Marines, the Army, or the Navy, or the Air Force, and I would start asking them, "Hey, did you serve? When did you serve?" And from there, it was just a very, like I mentioned earlier, grassroots approach. I said, "Hey, come join me in this community. Let's build something together." And it caught on like wildfire. It really did. We have over 5,000 members now who joined us over the last 15 years. We'd probably have thousands more if we'd really spent the time or the budget on advertising, but we don't. We are 100% grassroots, community-grown organization. So we have participated with some pretty big names in the space in the past. We did some joint ventures into charity with Sony Online Entertainment back in the day. Doing some extra life campaigns and things of that nature. And we've done some other charitable events at the local level and things of that nature. We've even considered, going down the nonprofit route in the past. But it's really it's an ever evolving space, and we're trying to remain open to the possibilities for the future. We're looking, towards blockchain technology to take us to that next level. So that's where we're at now.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask about that. So blockchain, metaverse, I mean, are you doing NFTs? Like what are all your goals?
Everything's on the table right now, really. So there, as I mentioned, there are going to be some opportunities for us to help veterans using NFTs and similar technology, immutable NFTs that basically belong to that veteran alone once they've connected their identity to it. So that they can then use that NFT as sort of a passport towards other opportunities. And like I said, I'm really not going to go too far into detail on that. I'm sure there'll be PRs later and whatnot that will cover that. But that's what I got into blockchain technology myself. Sort of late, as you would say. I mean, it's really, still in its infancy, just a couple years old. But I got in late on what you would call like the second bull run. And I really got excited about not just the financial aspect of it, but to me, with having my background in as a defense contractor in security and information technology, the interest to me there was, what could it do for the internet? And the idea of data sovereignty and having ownership of your data by utilizing blockchain technology is a big thrill to me. I'm really interested in that aspect of the space as well as the financial aspects, So I kind of dove in like everybody else did in 2019 and 2020 during, the pandemic. And so here I find myself now, as VP of operations for TKYOLABS and StrongNode. And these companies, they are really innovators in the space, and I'm proud to be working with them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I see a lot of possibilities with this and blockchain. I mean, it's, for everything from the social gaming aspect in the metaverse, to, NFTs, as you mentioned, and even kind of, there are potential, for blockchain technology to really promote peace and, and economic prosperity across a wider group of people. So, it's a kind of a cool thing to be involved in and to watch this technology. And you're right, it's very early. It seems like it's taken forever, but it's still there and it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, really the sky's the limit with where we can take this technology now. Everybody right now is trying to come up with the next big thing in blockchain. What's next, what's new. But I don't think the full potential will be realized, for probably a decade or more, just like the internet itself, from its infancy until now. the space is really growing. And I'm happy to be leading military gamers into the future using, blockchain technology and taking it to its full potential.
Well, I want you to come back, Lucas, when you're ready to make public, your technology and what you're going to do. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about it, because I think it's fascinating. I think what you're doing is great. And I appreciate you, what you've done for the country and what you're doing now for the country, and what you're doing for veterans.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. It was a pleasure being here, pleasure speaking with you, and I'd be happy to be your guest anytime.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.